Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion and Smoke Transport Briefing for Monday, April 10th. Over the last 1 to 2 weeks, we've seen drier conditions move into the region. However, still over the last week or two, above normal precipitation with a storm that moved across central areas of the Great Basin, again bringing above normal precipitation still to parts of central and northern Utah, into southern and central Idaho, and even back into parts of Nevada. But still drier spots over western and the southern half of Nevada into southern and eastern areas of the Great Basin. So definitely a change from what we saw a few weeks ago. New snowfall over the last 72 hours has been minimal, and our snowpack is still very healthy across the Great Basin. We're seeing snowpack over 200 and 300% of normal, still across Nevada, Utah, down into Arizona, and above normal now between about 120 and 160% over Idaho into Wyoming. The satellite loop from this morning shows a strong ridge of high pressure dominating the Great Basin early this week. However, as you can see, there is another deep trough of low pressure off the west coast, and that will move across the Great Basin later this week going into the Wednesday-Thursday time period, and then we will see ridging yet again. So these warm temperatures that we will see this week, especially early this week, will be about 15 to 20 degrees above normal, but again, very short-lived, and we will see that cool down again later in the week. So the general weather pattern, again, that ridge gets pushed a little bit further east, with the strongest portion of the ridge now over the eastern side of the basin and the Four Corners area. Still low fire potential despite the warm-up, obviously with the significant moisture still in place. Transport winds will be increasing today as that next trough of low pressure starts to approach the west coast, especially across western and northern sides of the Great Basin, with most gusts in the 30s, some gusts around 40 miles per hour. Mixing heights will remain high across the Great Basin with the exception of eastern Idaho into Wyoming. Relative humidity will be dropping down into the single digits and low teens over southern areas of the Great Basin with this significant warm-up, and dispersion with these gustier winds will remain good across Nevada and southern areas of the Great Basin, and a little bit lower as you go further north and east. As we move into Tuesday, this next trough of low pressure again moves into the west coast, and this will allow that ridge to be pushed off to the east. Transport winds will increase over much of the Great Basin, and we will see a little bit higher gusts, maybe more in the 40s, across central and northern areas of the basin with high mixing heights. Relative humidity still remaining low over southern areas with those warm temperatures, and certainly higher as you go further north closer to that trough. On Wednesday, the trough moves across the northern side of the Great Basin, and this will push some moisture into Idaho, northeast Nevada, and far northern Utah. This precipitation will be fairly light, but a mix of rain and snow as that system moves through, with the snow more likely in the higher elevations. But again, there will be some snow mixing down in lower elevations as well temporarily. Otherwise, low fire potential. Transport winds on Wednesday as that trough moves into the north will be strongest over southern and eastern areas of the Great Basin. Again, gusts mainly in the 40s across much of southern and eastern Utah, down into Arizona and far southern Nevada. Otherwise, mixing heights remain high, with good smoke dispersion. Relative humidity improves a little bit in the south, but still low. But again, no issues with fire potential, just with the moisture in place. Again, no concerns. Temperatures will be quite warm, again, about 15 to 20 degrees above normal, with many valley areas reaching the mid to upper 70s over western and northern areas, even some 80s, and then near 90 degrees down south. We will see that trough moving through Wednesday, Thursday, so we will see that those cooler conditions move through temporarily. So again, these very warm conditions will just last for a few days, and then we will see temperatures drop a little bit closer to normal. Morning lows, same story. They will be quite warm, most areas not getting below freezing, and we will see those temperatures return to near or below freezing as we get into the Thursday, Friday time period as that trough moves through. Forecast amounts of precipitation, again, anything with this system will be on the lighter side and tracking with the cold front or closer to the area of low pressure in central Idaho. As we move into Thursday, this system starts to swing east, again pushing east over the eastern areas of the Great Basin, and by Friday moving into the Rockies with the ridge building in for the weekend again, so we will see temperatures gradually tick upwards, but certainly not as warm as what we'll see early this week, because we do have another trough of low pressure that will be moving into the west coast later in the weekend and moving into the Great Basin going into the early part of next week, bringing yet another cool down and some more showers to the Great Basin. And this area of low pressure will be a little bit colder than the one we'll see towards the end of this week. Precipitation for days 4 and 5, taking us from Thursday through Saturday. Again, mostly light precipitation as that trough swings through the eastern side of the Great Basin, with drier conditions going through the weekend as the ridge builds in, and then the 7-day total precipitation, obviously a total with the system moving through this week, again, still on the lighter side for the Great Basin. The 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us from April 17th to the 23rd, still shows a cooler regime along the west and into the northern side of the U.S. Again, we will see periods of ridging bringing us warm temperatures, but also this will last for a few days with still troughs expected to move through the west, bringing us back some cooler temperatures and occasional chances of precipitation. Although looking at the precipitation outlook, precipitation will be on the lighter side and generally near normal across much of the Great Basin. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Wednesday for the latest updates.